welcome to The Next Word. I'm your host, Chris Warnke, and tonight we have a true politician, author, D.C. council member, former mayor, and mayor for life, Marion Barry, to talk about his new book, Mayor for Life. What a treat.
Thank you,
Mayor
Christine.
for Life. I mean, Mayor Ken Cummings, who was a political reporter for the Washington City paper, coined you Mayor for Life. And you didn't like it at the time.
Let me thank you for inviting me on your show.
Well, thank you.
You and I go back many years.
We go back many years. What a treat.
Years. But back to the Mayor for Life.
You didn't like that term.
When Ken Cummings first did that, it reminded me of Papa Doc in Haiti, President for Life. I didn't want to be associated with a dictator, with a person who had been doing the kind of atrocities that he allegedly did. But the more I talked to people, they call me Mayor Forever, best mayor we ever had, all those kind of terms. And so Mayor for Life just took a life of its own. And I like it now because it's one of endearment for me. For people to think that I'm Mayor for Life means that my legacy goes on even beyond when I leave this earth. That's a great honor. I love the people of Washington. I've served them well. My book describes a lot of what I had to overcome. I was born in poverty. Incidentally, most people who are born in poverty die in poverty. Like those who are born in wealth die in wealth. Let's say make a mistake somewhere down the line. And it's incredible how I got out of that poverty situation, being born poor and black in a segregated South, having overcome a lot of those kind of barriers. My mother and father went to about the 3rd or 4th grade in school. For the first 2 or 3 years, I went to a one-room schoolhouse, which means that all the grades were taught, segregated. I had to walk miles to go to that school. And here I'm a little boy, that age, 6, 7, 8 years old almost. And it was tough. We lived in a shotgun house. That means you can look at the front to the back. They call it shotgun because you could shoot a shotgun. If you're going to shoot one, go right through the house. They didn't hit anything. And I didn't have any running water. Didn't have any electricity. We had kerosene lamps and candles. We had outhouses. And it was a tough life. I mean, I didn't know at the time how tough it was, but looking back upon it, it was really tough. I didn't have anybody to play with on a regular basis because the houses were way apart from each other. So if I had a little friend of mine, we had to walk several miles to even play together. So here I am over there. My mother had me first. I'm the oldest. Then 2 other sisters. One 9 years old. Another one is 3 years younger than me. And that's the kind of life I was living. And my mother got tired of that. So I think people don't understand how tough it is to get out of that kind of situation. It's tough, very tough. Didn't have much money. My father and my mother made probably $2,000 or $3,000 for the whole year. After chopping cotton, picking cotton, we had our own garden and had our own pigs and that kind of thing. But that's no way to live. My mother got tired of that. When I was 8 years old, she tells me the story. I don't remember all that. But she got tired of it. My grandmother, who had gone to Chicago as part of the great black migration up north to the Freedom Land, quote unquote. My sister was up there. And my grandmother, Lily, that was her name, sent my mother Greyhound bus fare for the 2 of us. My father found it and took it. And she had to scuffle around in some white woman's kitchen doing hard work jobs to get enough money to go to Arkansas and then to Memphis. And that was incredible.
That's incredible.
My mother was incredible, and she often tells me the story. I didn't understand it quite as much as I do now, that when she went to look for a job in some white man's house, she first of all, after got all the day, the hours, and what time, she would then say, by the way, in the South they call maids by their first name. She said, I'm not going to be called by my first name. Call me Miss Cummins. And she also said, I'm not going through the back door. If I'm good enough to clean your house and take care of your babies and all this other kind of stuff, I'm good enough to come to the front door. Of course, she lost a lot of jobs that way. But she also showed tremendous courage. In fact, I suspect that a lot of that courage just rubbed off on me, you know, and growing up, because she was courageous and a lot of other things. So that's the beginning. And then God blessed me to go to be the first in my family, to go to college, to get a master's degree first in my family, 3 years toward a PhD in a hard subject called organic chemistry. And then I joined the Civil Rights Movement, went to physics and master's in the Civil Rights Movement. God blessed me not to be killed or injured. I was jailed.
You were jailed?
At least a couple dozen times. You know, either sitting in at lunch counters in Nashville or sitting in at Macomb, Mississippi, or voter registration drives, taking people to the courthouse. Back in the day, Christine, Van Hamer is a good example. We found her as a sharecropper and convinced her to go register to vote. She went to register to vote at about 2, 3 o'clock afternoon. When she got back to the farm, she got a notice from the farm owner, get out of here the next 3 hours.
Wow.
I mean, that's the kind of life we were living. And we came to the Civil Rights Movement, and God gave me a great vision about Washington. When I came here in 65, it was segregated almost. The police department was 75% white. There were allegations of brutality and false arrests, all those kind of things. And thank God we're not at a point. We have a white police chief who's a good chief, an outstanding police department that's balanced racially and gender-wise. The same is true with the fire department. It's balanced less so gender-wise. I promoted the first African-American woman in the fire department. I can't think of her name right now, but she got to be battalion fire chief, and she retired recently. And so Washington, D.C. was the sleepiest southern town. If you were here at that time, there were low-level buildings all over the place. It was just awful looking. You know, there were potholes all in the streets downtown. It's just not a very decent place to be our nation's capital. And I got busy putting together a transformation plan for Washington. First of all, I had to transform the D.C. government. It was lethargic. You know, when I ran, I said, bumbling, stumbling kind of government. And then I got busy trying to figure out how to revitalize downtown and how to build the neighborhoods out. And what you see now, I laid the foundation for all of that. Everything you see, that foundation was laid, because you don't build a high-rise building. We have a building height. You don't build a Grand Hyatt or others from last week. That planning started a long time ago. Herb Miller, who's an outstanding white developer, who developed the Washington Harbor, and he and his partner, Steve, new public development. And those are the kind of things that God blessed me to do in terms of leading that effort. But also, he gave me visions about program things, like summer jobs. That came out of my head, not my staff's head. And so we've had over 100,000 young people going through that program. I see them every day. Mr. Barry, you gave me my first summer job. Not to mention minority businesses, from 3% to 47%. You know, incidentally, what I've learned in this society, the white people will not consciously do this, but they will invite you to the country club, play tennis, and go to sports events, and into their home. But when you start transferring that money from one pocket to another qualified pocket. That's when they get upset. That's when I started having my difficulties, because I had millions and millions of dollars happens. And a lot of people didn't like that. But black entrepreneurship flourished. It's now falling on hard times. I've done so much for Ward 8, so much. I've done so much nationally in terms of taking positions on national things. I was in the anti-Vietnam War movement. I got arrested for that several times in terms of demonstrations. And so I've had an incredible life because I care about the people that I serve. I've shown love about the people I serve, and they've shown love to me. Everywhere I go, you find people appreciative of that. You know, they talk about, when you were mayor, everybody had jobs. That was true. We did a lot of our jobs. Now it's awful. We did a lot about housing. Even since I've been on the council, we've done 10,000 units with the private sector, renovated housing. And so that's, to me, incredible. But the most incredible thing, though, is getting out of poverty. That was just incredible. Look at what's happening now with TANF and other kind of people born in poverty. They die in poverty. And so God blessed me with the insight, with the skill, with the courage, tenacity to get out of that. But he also blessed me with a vision about what we ought to be doing. Like I started Pride Incorporated, 1967, along with Mary Treadwell and Carol Harvey, to deal with hardcore young people, very hardcore. You know, people have been out of jail for all kinds of things, for assault and battery, robbery, bank robbery, and a couple of them for murder, and et cetera. These are tough guys. And here I am trying desperately to help them feel better about themselves and do that. And they did. You know, we had 6 service gas stations. We had landscaping and gardening. We had painting. We had a number of other things, a community store. And so back in the day when it was hard to do these things, we did it. And then 14th and U, the Reeves Center, I put that there in 1986 in order to try to spur development in that area. Look at it now. Look at 14th Street.
Oh, that's great. Oh,
look at U Street. Look at Adams Morgan. Look at all those areas around there.
Columbia Heights.
The only mistake I made was not trying to protect those black businesses. There were 31 businesses that are now out of business, been out of business, because of the onslaught of other people wanting to go into business and buy their leases out or something like that. But we still have some left, not many. And so if I had to do it all over again, I would have tried to find a way to protect those African American businesses. But we did so much. There's hardly anybody in Washington who has visited Washington or live in Washington who has not directly or indirectly benefited from my leadership.
And that's why your book is so good.
It's
so good because it tells your story that people don't know, really, like myself. We're going to take, though, a short break because I want to come back to the book, Mayor for Life.
Thank you.
And we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back.
Thank you.
You're watching The Next Word. We're going to take a short break and we'll be right back.
Up, college is hard. Down, those books are heavy.
My sport is football, but my passion is education. So every year I take promising high schoolers on a college tour to show them that higher education means a brighter future.
My name is Nnamdi Asamoah. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
You can be a reader, tutor, or mentor too. Take the pledge at liveunited.org/volunteer.
Do you wear this?
Welcome back. You're watching The Next Word. Tonight we are going to hear about the incredible life of Marion Barry. With us we have former Mayor Marion Barry to talk about his new book, Mayor for Life.
Thank you.
Wow, you are Mayor for Life, and it'll go on for eternity. After reading it,
as I said earlier, great
I
honor.
I want everybody to read this.
I want them to also.
Because it's a lesson in life. On so many levels.
It's
so
inspirational.
multifaceted. You're so
It's educational. It's give people a sense of hope, those who have lost hope. It just shows that if I can do all of these things, if they make up their minds, and with God's help, they can do those kind of things. Also, people can buy this book on Amazon.com. Amazon.com.
Okay.
They'll send it to you.
I thoroughly enjoyed reading this.
You know, we were at the
How
National.
since I didn't know about you. I know you got accepted to law school. What would your life have been had you taken and accepted your law school position?
It wouldn't be what it is now, I'll tell you that.
It wouldn't.
I'd probably end up in Memphis or Nashville somewhere, practicing law, you know, maybe civil rights law or some other kind of law. But I wouldn't have been in Washington if I had not been in the civil rights movement, because James Foreman asked me to come to Washington. I want to go back south, you know, where the action was.
Right.
But law school was very interesting.
Yeah,
You know,
I thought that was
I
fascinating.
did very well on the LSAT. I didn't even study, quite frankly.
But don't you have a photographic memory?
Yeah, no, I don't have a, not
Because
quite.
I remember when you asked.
I have a good memory.
You have a good memory, but
Good
you
memory.
asked Effie Barry. I remember when you met her and you said, "Give me your number," and you didn't have anything to write down, and of course you memorized it. But you later said that you memorized a lot of numbers, but that hers was definitely one that
Yeah.
you did memorize. So
That's how we met at a she worked for D.C. government, and she's a wonderful person. I mean,
yeah, she was. She's
just
elegant.
fabulous. She's elegant. She loved me being in politics. She adjusted to it, etc. And that's very, very important. It's tough on a wife with a elected politician. And one as high profile as I am, and sometimes controversial as I am, it takes a lot to deal with that. But
She was there for you.
yeah, she's passed.
Yeah,
She had
she was-
leukemia. And I learned a lot about leukemia. 'Cause I went to talk to doctors about it and try to learn more about it. She had the most ravishing kind of leukemia, and it took her out
Yeah, that's really, that was
about 6 years ago.
a
Something like that.
tragedy.
Yeah.
But
I mean, her birthday was July 4th, so I can never forget it. Never
you can
forget
never
it.
forget,
Never-
right? I love- You know, and looking back over your whole life, which is fascinating, before you leave this earth, what would be your greatest accomplishment? If you had to, because you had
Christine.
many accomplishments.
Yeah.
But
There are so many accomplishments. I guess I'd take one or two. At the baseline, I helped a lot of people along the way. That I gave of myself, gave of my vision, gave of my courage, etc., and helped people. The other part of it would be I gave hope to the hopeless and gave a feeling of self-goodness to those who have lost their self-esteem. And I guess I gave people a sense of stick-to-itiveness. I'm considered a warrior, that I stand up. I don't bow down to crazy stuff. I stand up. Even if it's going to make it difficult for me, I stand up. And some members of the media don't like that. You know, they don't like the fact that I can walk out of a crisis situation with my head high, not arrogantly, but humbly, but looking confident, not let them get me down. And I tell my staff from time to time, their design is to discombobulate me, is to try to discredit me, try to run me over here somewhere. And we're not going to let that happen. If we know, it's like football. If you know what the game is, you know how to deal with it. If you studied the opposing team, you know how to deal with it from an offense. And we try to be on offense. And LaToya Foster, my communication person, has been excellent. Until my book, Ramon Bain, been there. I got some good friends in Charles Moreland and Chanel Spencer and Kim Dickens, who gave me her kidney. That's a miracle in itself.
yes,
She gave me her kidney first time out when I asked about a living donor. She said, I'd do it. And so I got my kidney right here. And it's been over 5 years that I've been, had the transplant of my kidney. And so God has just blessed me for so many things. I'm deeply religious. I have not always been that way. I was trained as a scientist, and scientists believe in evolution. You know, one cell, 2 cells, and 4 cells, and 16 cells, 32, and 164. But after all the things that God has led me through, including being shot in March of 1977, right above here, and survived that.
I don't remember that, but now
It was
that in the book.
Yeah.
You walked into the Wilson building.
Right.
And
All of that's in the book.
It's all in the book.
And people ought to get this
Fascinating.
book
I mean, it's just
and
fascinating.
read about. I'm just sort of verbalizing the things that I dictated or discussed with Omar. Incidentally, Omar Tyree is an excellent writer. He did a great job of all that information. And the most incredible part of it is that on the early years, they didn't have newspapers, clippings I could go pull on. They didn't have photographs, etc. So a lot of it came out of my memory in terms of what happened back in the early days. In fact, something happened to me just a couple of days ago. A good Masonic brother of mine, Officer Buckner, was on police department, is a Mason, as well as a Shriner. I'm a Shriner too. He's a Shriner convention, and he saw a friend of mine I grew up with named Clifton Drake. I have not seen Clifton Drake since high school days. You can imagine how long that is.
Can you imagine?
And since '54. And I talked to him a couple days ago. He's still in Memphis. He's doing very well. He married a good friend of mine, and they've been married about 20 years. And so all this stuff
It all comes back.
It's just coming together remarkably so. But my main message is you can do it. You don't have to succumb to drugs and alcohol or to a bad marriage or to kids who are unruly or financial disaster that happens in your life. That, you know, if you make up your mind, you can do it. You got to say you can. Because if you say you can't, you won't. I guarantee you that. If you say you can, you just might do that. So this is a life story that I hope I wrote it so not only to tell people information that they didn't know about, educate them, but to inspire, you know, inspire. Young politicians can read about my various campaigns, how we were able to come back in 1994.
With unfinished business.
Right.
You called your campaign slogan unfinished business, which I loved.
That's right. It was unfinished business. I mean, I had an agenda this long. I had gotten through most of it, but not all of it. Even now, I'm still building an agenda. I'm still working on some agenda, trying to enhance the life of people. That's what's important. And people can tell when you're BSing. They know I'm for real, that I care deeply about them and care deeply about this city, and whether you're black or white, etc. Now, obviously, 98% of my constituency in Ward 8 African American. So therefore, I have to be very, very concerned about that particular constituency. But when I was mayor, I served the whole city, and we had white people in my administration, had Asians in my administration, had Chinese a couple of times in a couple of places in my administration. I had boards and commissions, about 2,000 people that we had from all walks of life. The only rule I had about my boards and commissions, you couldn't be opposed to me. I'm not going to point my enemies to nothing.
That's a good policy.
You had to be neutral to positive. I wasn't going to point any council members' enemies, because I had to count on them for certain votes. I'm not going to be putting their enemies over here, then ask them to vote for this over there. That making any sense. That's a lesson learned. That's a lesson learned. I don't think Adrian Fincher learned that. Fincher Gray, who I support very strongly, didn't learn that. And as a result, we've become a one-term mayor town, starting with Sharon Pratt Kelly. Then Tony Williams almost got defeated by Reverend Wilson, 36% of the vote in 3 months. We had more time, he would have been defeated. And so I'm trying to impart this information. I support Muriel Bowser very strongly, and trying to get these young people who have not been through struggle understand struggle.
Right.
Yeah, most of the young people, black and white, have not been through struggle, and not been in. They may have had personal struggles. You know how how to pay for college. I'm talking about mass struggle of people. And that's what I'm about, is trying to impart information, use my experiences. I've been doing this 31 years in terms of electoral politics. So one of the longest serving elected officials in America, you know, and would be in the world, except you got them dictators over there, so I don't count them, you know. In terms of Ferguson, that's relevant to me also,
absolutely.
to all
I
of
wanted to
us.
ask you about-
We ought to all be understanding that. And part of the problem with Ferguson is that I think it was the Hayes Compromise, where Kansas was a free state and Missouri was a slave state. The two came in at the same time. And so Missouri has traditionally been as segregated as the South. They have. And so that vestige of discrimination, can you imagine a town which is 70% black, not one black official on the school board, not one black official on the city council, and not one mayor at all? That's a formula for dynamite, which we saw. It wasn't just the police shooting Michael Brown. It was just all this other stuff beneath that, in terms of that. So what I've learned is that in those towns, like in Mississippi, there were majority black towns, the white establishment has to learn to encourage people to participate and to vote, at least give them opportunities. They don't vote, then it's their fault. But they don't have the opportunities, then it's the white establishment's fault. And so that's true of all over America. You find black boys afraid of being shot, either by some other black people or by the white police officers.
I wish we could carry this conversation, because people
Don't forget
can
to
learn so much.
buy my book, Married for Life.
I know.
On
Buy the
Amazon.com.
book. Now, it's Book a Million.
Book a Million too.
That you're
Yeah.
going to be September 13th.
September 13th, right?
Viewers go out there and come and meet
Come.
the man in person.
Absolutely.
You will
But
not be disappointed. You
Well,
will
thank
not
you,
be
Christine, for
disappointed. Thank you.
your participation.
Oh,
and
thank
things
you.
in Washington.
Thank you for
You're a wonderful person.
thank you for sharing your
No.
story, because you have a tremendous legacy. Thank you,
Well,
and for your service,
thank
for
you.
what you do for everybody every day.
You know, I love
Thank
this
you.
job. I love what I'm
I know
doing.
you do.
The
Oh,
day
I
I
know you do.
stop loving it, that's the day I quit.
I know.
That's what I'll be true of everybody. You shouldn't work on a job if you got a choice that you don't love.
Absolutely.
Same thing true in our
It's about
school
life.
system. Remember with the chancellor yesterday, we talked about how you get everybody in the school system generally caring about kids, whether it's the janitor, the maintenance person, or whether it's the vice chancellor, caring about kids.
That's a good
Our
lesson.
kids are our most important product that we have to deal with.
Thank you. And you're right.
They are our future.
They're our future. And on that happy, positive note, thank you.
Thank you very much, Christine.
You've been watching The Next Word. You can see it on Tuesdays at 9 and Wednesdays at 6. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you. Good night.